Welcome to the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners issues and updates on March 19, 2024. County Administrator Gary Schmidt, what's up first?
Thank you, Chair Smith. First, Commissioner West is out of the office today on military leave. Everett Wild will be sitting in as clerk to the board today. Thank you, Everett. Chair, would you please convene as the Development Agency Board of Directors?
I will recess as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as the Development Agency.
You're now meeting as the Development Agency of Clackamas County. This is request for consent agenda, item 1. Approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Clackamas County to continue administering a housing rehabilitation program for low-income homeowners in the North Clackamas Renewal Area. The agreement value is $300,000 for 5 years. Funding is through the Development Agency North Clackamas Renewal Area Funds. No county general funds are involved. Dan Johnson, Director of Transportation and Development. Go ahead, please.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, Chair Smith. Commissioners, as you know, we have an urban renewal program up in the North Clackamas Revitalization Area. One of the projects that was included in that particular plan was to help stabilize some of the housing stock within that area. And to do so, we have partnered with our friends at H3S, specifically through Housing and Community Development Division, to assist us in implementing a program for those of lesser means to assist with primarily renovations and also eligible home ownership grants that we provide that's funded through the Clackamas County Urban Renewal District. They have a special expertise through the work they do. They have technical expertise to go out there and to assess these grant requests, to scale them and cost them appropriately. It's essentially a skill that we don't have within the development agency, so we have partnered with them for many years on this particular program. This is basically an agreement to extend that program and continue to do that good work up at the North Clackamas Revitalization Area. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Wow, this is a great program. And it's been successful, obviously, in the past years.
We do mailings on it to the community, information. We have website information, et cetera. If any of our staff or any of their staff get calls, they're very aware of the program and they make suggestions for folks who may qualify to possibly qualify for the program as well. So,
Commissioner Shaw.
Yes, Mr. Johnson, do these grant requests come from nonprofits or from individuals? For what kind of organization do they come from?
They're specifically from individuals that are living in the area, and they are targeted towards essential repairs, primarily regarding the various housing units that are out there. So first they have to qualify. There's an income level. If they're above a certain income level, they can't qualify. So it's not like anybody can come in and apply. But then secondly, it's a detailed look at essential housing elements such as like a roof or a heating system, things that keep people in their homes versus having them look for other housing should those things go awry. So This is one of a number of projects that we've had a great partnership with H3S. We've had a great partnership with Water Revenue Services up there for sewer service, sewer connections. It's a great story. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Schrader.
Yeah, this has been going on for years and years and years, because I remember we were here when we first developed it, and to me, it's one of the most successful uses of urban renewal, colleagues, because what it really is doing is helping a community that the roads were going, septic systems needed to be replaced. It was one of our major pockets of poverty in the county, and it's really enable people to stay in their homes, to get their homes fixed, to make sure their sewer system is up to snuff and connecting to WES. And I wish we could replicate this in other areas. So I guess my question is, how much longer is this urban renewal district supposed to, do we know? It really is done with, it's really helping the area not to be blighted, which was one of the issues of urban renewal.
Correct, and that plan was a little bit different than other plans, with housing stability being one of the primary focuses in that area. You talked about the failing septic systems. If septic systems fail, the lots weren't big enough to put another septic on there. Hence, DEQ would come in and basically evict people, in all honesty. They couldn't occupy their houses anymore. The life of the urban renewal districts is based off the maximum indebtedness within the plan area. I haven't looked at that one recently. I would guess it's been around for a little bit. I'm guessing probably 7 to 8 years, give or take. It still hasn't funding coming in as a rough estimate. This is one of a number of ways we've partnered with H3S in various areas to provide service. And also, I should highlight the fact there's a partner agreement that H3S will be coming up with and discussing also on their side of the ledger. So.
Okay, Thanks, Dan.
Great. Seeing no questions or objections, thank you.
Thank you. Chair, would you please reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners?
I will recess as a development agency and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners. Thank you.
Next is request for consent agenda for the Board of County Commissioners. First up, Transportation and Development. Sorry, Dan.
Come
Item
on
one,
back.
Approval of a board order vacating a portion of Spalding Avenue, County Road number 2229. No fiscal impact, no county general funds are involved. Dan Johnson, Director of Transportation and Development. Go ahead.
For some reason, in 1911, somebody thought it was a good idea to dedicate this half of a roundabout, or a cul-de-sac, to the county. This is essentially near the Concord property. It's on the north side. And when we were working with our partners, our project manager for the siting of the facility, the discussion was, why do we have this cul-de-sac here? There's other ways to provide sufficient turnarounds and sufficient space for this. So in an effort to make sure that we're using the right-of-way efficiently and effectively, we advanced a vacation of this. You'll see it on in your materials. It's on third or fourth page. Essentially, it's kind of a half of a cul-de-sac here, basically to vacate that portion to provide for a more logical placement of the library facility. Because if you recall, we have setbacks from these rights-of-way, and so it created a bunch of obstacles in locating the library facility as a whole. So we've vetted that through our staff. As you can see, the image also illustrates the fact that it did at one time go through the property. This is previously vacated right-of-way. So essentially, it's just one more step to ensure that the property is used efficiently and effectively by vacating this little bit of a remainder.
So a point of clarification on your map, Lot 7 is where the Concord School is with the new library.
Correct. Lot 7, and then it's primarily where Concord's at. Lot 2 to 7 is kind of where that library is going to be located, and then Lot 2 is the park area to the north.
Got
there.
it.
Yep.
Spalding Acres. It'd be nice if we could reuse that name somehow along the way in the construction of the library. I don't know. It's historic, obviously. Any further questions or comments from commissioners? Seeing no objections.
Item 2, approval of a board order authorizing a purchase order for 3 2025 Freightliner 114 SD trucks with Columbia dump bodies for transportation maintenance through a State of Oregon cooperative purchasing agreement with Premier Truck Group of Portland. Total contract value is $815,685. Funding through the county road fund. No county general funds are involved.
It was funny, I think it was during the ice storm, Shane Abbott and I, he's the manager down there, we had this little saying that says, we do big things, we don't do pretty things. And so to do big things, we have to have big trucks. Essentially, this is the acquisition of 3 vehicles. It's a part of our repair and replace schedule that we have in place right now. They are budgeted in the current budget this year. This is essentially authority to go out through the cooperative agreement and acquire these vehicles. We did do a notice of intent to purchase these 3 vehicles on March 4th, 2024. There were no comments were received. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
These are dump trucks with the boxes.
Correct. Yep,
3 of them for $850,000.
that is correct.
Yeah, they're
Thank
not
you.
cheap.
Any questions or comments?
Chair,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson, how's the new maintenance facility working out for you? You got plenty of parking spaces?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's fabulous. It's out of the floodway, in the
Yeah.
floodplain. It's great.
Great.
Yes, it's working out very well. They are fully relocated there. We continue to look for efficiencies and good partnerships with CCSO because they occupy some of the space as well. Things are going well.
Excellent, thank you.
Yep.
Seeing no objections, thank you.
Thank you. Next, Health, Housing, Human Services. Item 1, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the Clackamas County Development Agency to continue administering a housing rehabilitation program for low-income homeowners in the North Clackamas Renewal Area. Agreement value is $300,000 for 5 years. Funding is through the Development Agency, North Clackamas Renewal Area funds. No county general funds are involved. Rod Cook, Director of Health, Housing, Human Services. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is the item that Dan brought to you earlier. So he's the revenue side, and we're the recipient side of this funds. And we have the staff that go out and do the work that he mentioned in the homes. So this renewal of a agreement between the Development Agency and the Housing Community Development Division allows them to utilize the housing rehabilitation specialist expertise for the North Clackamas Renewal Area Housing Rehabilitation Program. assisting low-income homeowners in making needed repairs and stabilizing their homes.
Is there an income limit on this?
Yes, there are. Yes, there
Do
is.
you know what it is?
I don't
Okay, just
know. I
send
can
it-
get that
send
for
it
you.
out. I was curious. Thank you. Any other questions, Commissioners? Seeing no objections?
Item 2, approval of a subrecipient agreement with Clackamas County Children's Commission for Healthy Families of Oregon programming. Agreement value is $1,792,274.92 for 1 year and 8 months. Funding is through the Oregon Department of Early Learning and Care. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, Healthy Families of Oregon is a voluntary, evidence-based, nationally accredited home visiting program that promotes child development, family self-sufficiency, and kindergarten readiness. Families engage in a weekly home visits for 6 months or more, extending to up to 3 years, depending on their specific needs and desires. Last year, 112 Clackamas County families received services with an average of 480 home visits per quarter. 100% of the children have primary care, 89% are up to date on their immunizations, and 74% read to their children regularly, and 90% report positive parent-child interactions. And so this is, they're basically the only entity in Clackamas County that have staff that are credentialed to do this type of work. So this is why we're sole sourcing and going back to this organization once again.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next, County Administration. Item 1, approval of a change order with Clackamas Progress Partners for change order number 17. This is for the replacement county courthouse. Change order value is $24,353.85, leaving a balance of $169,574.55 in credits. Funding is through credits from previous change orders, which does include some budgeted county general funds. Nancy Bush, County Operating Officer, go ahead, please.
Welcome, Nancy.
Good morning, Commissioners. So yes, this particular change order, a lot of it really has to do with the District Attorney's Office and some things that were not included in the original contract, which includes the recording systems and some courtroom amplifiers for zoning. Also, it noted here that we are getting some artwork where we will be able to place artwork so it doesn't sag or fall or pull out of the wall. And that is actually being gifted to us. So it's in here, but it's a zero cost, even though it is costing PCL a little bit. But anyway, that is a gift that's also in here as well. We are removing some and replacing some storage and double doors, which actually is a credit in this packet, and removal of power and data in unwanted locations, which is also a credit in this packet. So the packet itself, the change order itself is $24,353.85.
Questions or comments from Commissioners?
Just a comment. Nancy, I appreciate all the work you've done on this. I know it's a lot of work in the background. You don't get a lot of attention to it. Maybe that's a good thing. But I do appreciate your work on this.
Thank you.
Likewise, I know you're trying to keep costs down, and a project this size and over a duration, we're bound to have some anticipated changes that we couldn't predict. It's always that way in construction, but, you know, we're still on the positive side of all this.
We are.
Gary? Yes, go ahead,
Sorry,
Nancy.
Just to say, too, to let you know, I think we are at the end of design and construction, so hopefully, I think we may have one more change order, and hopefully, we will be done with them.
Okay, does this go to consent?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, Tourism. Item 1, approval of a goods and services contract with Oregon Media LLC for design, printing, and distribution of annual travel planners. Contract value not to exceed $657,090 over 5 years. Funding through transient room tax. No county general funds are involved. Samara Phelps, Executive Director of Tourism and Cultural Affairs. Go ahead, please.
Morning, everyone. Samara Phelps, Executive Director for Tourism, and we're really excited to bring this contract forward and be able to work with a established Oregon publisher to do our travel planner for Clackamas County. They are experienced in both travel and lifestyle publications, and being a 5-year contract, this gives us a lot of efficiencies as staff to be able to deliver a really effective and custom guide for Clackamas County. So we are excited to engage in this agreement with them and do 5 years of outstanding travel planners for you. And happy to answer questions.
Yeah, you have a 5-year contract. I noticed some built-in increases over the 5 years because of printing, obviously, and
Yes.
postage and so forth. Okay. Have you ever succeeded what your anticipated increases would be?
We've not worked with these folks before, and I'm going to be perfectly honest, printing changes every 3 months in terms of cost of paper. So the fact that they were willing to give us estimates for 5 years out felt like a big investment in trust with all of us on that. So printing was the one thing that I can't speak to.
Printing?
Printing.
Yes.
That in 5 years, I don't think we can confidently say, but in terms of the partnership for the creative work and the work that they are doing as an agency for us,
Okay.
5 years should be well within range.
Yeah, I would think that'd be very hard to predict what printing is going to cost 5 years from now. In light of the past several years, it's just, but thank you for that. Commissioner Scholl?
Samara, good morning.
Morning.
These travel planners now, are these the things you would find in a hotel lobby that gives information on Clackamas County and where to go, what to see?
Correct, yes.
Okay, and about how many will this pay for each year?
This is tens of thousands. We're like at 50,000 a year in terms of our distributions.
Okay,
And those
okay.
go to people in Iowa and before they even get to any place that you would see. And then, yes, they are also in.
And so the
Visitor centers and hotel lobbies.
distribution of those is also part of this contract?
They get, yes, the distribution, they get the guides printed and they get them out to the sources where we can then fulfill them. We also do campaigns to encourage people to request the guides. So there are additional work that it happens outside of this contract to drive interest in our travel planner, but that's part of our marketing.
So you do
destination.
have a plan to get all 50,000 out in the hands of somebody?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
Seeing no objections, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Human Resources. Item 1, approval of a memorandum of agreement regarding cost of living adjustments for represented employees within the Clackamas County Employees Association, the Clackamas County Employees Association for the Housing Authority, the Clackamas County Employees Association for part-time and temporary employees, and the AFSCME Local 350-0 for Transportation and Development and Business and Community Services. Total value is $1,358,576. Funding is through state and federal funds, fees, fines, other budgeted funds, and approximately $600,000 in unbudgeted county general funds. Evelyn Minor Lawrence, Director of Human Resources. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here to answer any questions that you might have. The memorandum of agreement has been signed off by ASME president and their representative, as well as the EA president and the representative. So I'm here for ratification on the memorandum of agreement, but happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Commissioners, are there any questions about this?
I just want a clarification from whether it's Evelyn or whether it's Gary, just highlight and emphasize the $600,000 in unbudgeted county general funds. Does that mean a different department, or we're looking for the money?
It was not budgeted, so what we're going to do is I'm asking departments to spend down their general fund if they have extra, because most departments do not spend their entire general fund. Whatever is left will come from contingency, the county's contingency fund, which even by spending this money, we still are at healthy levels of contingency that the board has authorized.
Okay. That's how I perceive that sentence. So just to show that we have some, in order to do these things, we have some stresses on our budget.
We do, yes.
Yes, good points. This is a one-time lump payment, just a one-time, so.
That is correct.
There are no roll-up costs associated with this. Thank you, Evelyn, for all your work on this. It's much appreciated. Seeing no objections, thank you.
Okay.
Great, thank you. So Commissioners, all of these consent agenda items will be on this Thursday's business meeting agenda for your final action. Next, Department of Transportation and Development requests to modify spending of American Rescue Plan Act ARPA funds within that department. There's a memo in your packet that explains the request. Dan Johnson, Director of Transportation and Development, will tell you more and answer your questions. Welcome, Dan.
Welcome back.
Hello again. If I could take 2 seconds, I'd like to answer that question that you had regarding the housing program.
Yeah.
So essentially what happens is that it is a loan program that you can qualify at various income levels. the income level dictates the interest rate, okay? And so if you're below 80% of median family income, there's a 0 interest rate on it.
Okay.
And then what happens is if they occupy that house that they're in for a period of up to 10 years, then it becomes a grant. Because housing stability was an importance there. So you just answered that question,
So
so.
does that mean they're collecting, the department is collecting interest rates for 10 years, possibly, if it's a,
If they sell early or if it's
Or-
over 80%,
so the people who are not of 80% income level pay no interest?
below, correct. Above, they pay 3%.
They pay 3%. So you are collecting interest on this?
Yep.
That I assume that goes back into the pot to loan more money?
That's correct.
Okay, thanks for the clarification, Dan.
Thank you so much. We're here on a discussion around ARPA. The Board of County Commissioners had discussed the desire to direct approximately $4.9 million of ARPA funding to various road projects. You are very familiar with ARPA. You're very familiar with how those dollars were doled out. And you are familiar with the fact that we have a timeline in which we have to commit those dollars for certain, into certain programmatic elements or spend those dollars. Essentially, what you're seeing is a request, because when we came here to you last time, we talked about, hey, here are the projects we'd like to fund. Knowing that this commitment timeline for ARPA is rapidly approaching, essentially, we are here to basically say we'd like to adjust those numbers. And those adjustments are located in the packet before you today. I'll talk about them here in 1 second. And that does not mean that we're not doing the other projects. We're just moving different funding around to make sure that we get the ARPA money spent by the deadline that we have. So basically, you'll have certain projects that we may have previously been doing road funding with that we're going to switch and put the ARPA money in there, then use the road funding over to backfill where that ARPA money had been planned for previously, okay? I just want to make sure we're clear. We're not taking projects off the list. We're not adjusting anything. It's just how things are being paid for. So essentially, you can see that originally you had about $1.4 million for the Jennings Sidewalks project, about $1.3 for El Camino Way Stormwater Improvement Project, approximately $1.5 million for the Thiessen Culvert replacement at Kellogg Creek, and about $500,000 in the Jennings Road overlay. Essentially, the intent, as you can see here, is to reduce the ARPA money for Jennings and subsidize that with road fund dollars. So it would basically reduce ARPA for the Jennings Sidewalk project to $1.1 million, reallocate that money to the Wildcat Mountain paving project, reallocate $1.4 million from the previous approved Thiessen culvert, replacement culvert, to paving projects. And I have a list of those projects if you'd like me to read through them. And essentially, that's the adjustment. And I guess last but not least, I want to ask the board for some levity in regards to these ARPA monies, because we have very exact numbers on here. With the ARPA deadline coming forward, know the fact that we would never go above the funding amount that you authorize for us, but my concern is the fact in our time and responsiveness to be able to come and adjust these dollars, if we're adjusting $10,000 here, $15,000 here, we look for some flexibility in the ability to move money between the projects we've talked about with you today, and then update you if we have to do that adjustment. Just a discussion around the flexibility, because the ARPA deadline's coming forward. I think it's December.
Yeah, we have an internal for April, May.
Okay. Okay, so December's the deadline for that. So, just so we've got, I can run through the paving projects if you'd like. The Thiessen paving project is basically La Mesa Way, Centro Way, or El Centro Way, El Centro Court, Sierra Vista Drive. We're also doing Birdshill Road, Fielding Road, and then Canby Markham Highway for 211. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Wildcat Mountain, is that Canby Markham?
Yes.
Why is it called
no,
Wildcat
hang on.
Mountain?
Relocate previously approved for an overlay at Jennings. The Wildcat Mountain is pardon me, I misspoke. I looked at the wrong color. It's the Wildcat Mountain Drive.
Where's that at?
It's,
5 miles east of Sandy.
yes,
That's what I thought it was.
yes.
So the folks up there get a little bit of paving, that's nice.
We try to, we look at paving every year, and we try to do urban, rural, and split it out. We've talked to you about our plan. Rural paving is as important as our urban paving projects.
Okay, so you talk about your discrepancy of numbers, and we may have 10,000 more here or 12,000 more here, and you're going to reassign that to another project that can be spent?
Just these projects that we're talking about, there may be some money that flows between them, and we won't allocate any additional projects without coming to the board, or any adjustments beyond
So
that.
I don't want to lose $10,000 or $12,000 because these projects are so horrifically expensive. You're saying you're going to spend every single cent, correct?
That's the intent.
Okay.
Every dollar, up to the
Because-
level that you've authorized.
Up to what you authorized, and that's what I'm concerned about. Nancy's shaking her head yes, because $10,000 to $12,000 to some of our lesser nonprofits in the county is a really big deal. And these projects that your shop comes in, they are millions and millions and millions. And to some of these projects, $10,000 is a rounding error. But to some of our other organizations, it's whether they survive or not.
Yep.
Okay, I want to be very clear on that, okay? Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, so Dan, overall, the scope of the work for these projects is not changing. You're just readjusting for the time and the funding, so you're just moving the dollars around accordingly to meet that. I'm okay with that, and I'm okay with having some flexibility and not getting down to the penny on this, so I'm good with that. But I do have a question on the Thiessen project. Some historic, after consulting the state historic office, we determined their mitigation for, can you explain that? What,
I'll
with
have
the,
to get back to you on that.
okay. That project it's got apparently an interesting past.
Past, present, and future.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I'd love to understand how the culvert is one dimension on one side, in half the road, underneath the road, and why the culvert is a different dimension on the other half of the road, and which is what we're trying to fix.
The condition isn't great on either side of the road. Yes.
And this area, upstream of this area, has been considerable flooding for decades. Yeah, I know it very well, and it's been painful just to have
We
to
will
wait this long.
get that
for
information and
resolution.
do an update to the board via email, so you have an answer to that question. Yep.
So do you have an idea on the duration of the delay? I mean,
Mike would know. Off the top of my head, I don't know, but we can provide that as part of the email update.
Right.
And again, I want to highlight the fact that this is not a discussion around not funding a project. It's just how we fund the projects.
right.
But we can give you that information.
I know this ties into some work that Wes is doing outside of the right-of-way.
Correct.
Right.
Yep. We're partners on that project.
Okay, thank you.
When you say upstream, Commissioner Savas, do you mean toward Oatfield Road?
Well, upstream, it goes towards Webster, actually. So it goes up towards I-205, if you know this area very well. So it goes across through a neighboring district.
But isn't
Not district.
Oatfield more elevation?
Oatfield, this is higher than Oatfield.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, this goes uphill to Webster, approximately, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for the point of clarification on that. Seeing no objections, thank you.
Thank you so much.
So Dan, the dollar amount's exactly the same the board previously authorized, correct?
Correct.
All right. So I don't see a need for a motion here, but the board agrees with your plan. Go ahead. Dan.
Pardon me, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. So the dollar amount previously was 4.972. This dollar amount is 4.971, so we're like $500 off, give or take. But essentially, our intent is to try to spend every ounce of that ARPA authorization that we have. But you asked me a very specific question. It's not exactly the same, but it is very close.
That's, Gary?
I'm going to ask that the board will make a motion to approve this request, please. So it's for the record.
So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Savas has moved we accept the change in funding allocations of the ARPA money to be used for, just a minute, I'm trying to get the motion right. DGT plan modification for spending ARPA rescue funds. There. Commissioner Schrader has seconded the motion. Further discussion? Seeing none. Everett, please take the poll.
Excuse me. Commissioner Schull,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. Please spend all the money and leave nothing on the table.
Thank you so much.
Okay, up next.
Thank you. Next, review of Willamette View Revenue Bond Agreement. Elizabeth Comfort, Finance Director, will present. There's a memo in your packet. Go ahead, please, Elizabeth.
Good morning, Chair and
Good morning.
Commissioners. Elizabeth Comfort, Finance Director. Today, we're bringing an amendment to you for the Hospital Facility Authority of Clackamas County, purely for being transparent. Our Chair, Smith, has a full authority as chair of this separate authority to sign, but we want to bring this to you and just share a little bit about you, that this Housing Facility Authority was created on June 4th in 1974, and it's for timely and economic development of adequate and effective health services in the area with tax-exempt bond financing, specifically for healthcare facilities, family safety facilities, or any healthcare facility as defined by ORS 442. Currently, the board is inactive. The last time they met was in 2020 for a Rose Villa loan, and today we're discussing, or just sharing with you, the 2017 Willamette View contract for loan needs an amendment to further define and clarify the definition for the reserve fund requirement, and that amendment is in your packet.
Questions or comments? I remember this the last time I was a commissioner. I think that board at that time took the initial action to put this in motion. And boy, was that a learning experience. Why are we guaranteeing bonds? Oh, you're not, you're doing this. You're not, okay, whatever. It's very complicated.
Yes, it is.
Correct?
Yes.
Very complicated. Questions or comments from commissioners? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
So in this case, Chair Smith is going to sign it because she already has the authority to do it. We just wanted you all to be informed, commissioners. That's why it's here today. Informational update. Thank you. Next, review of your board business meeting agenda for this Thursday, March 21st, 2024, 10 a.m. You'll have a public hearing, second reading and adoption of an ordinance amending the county code, chapter 5.1 on 5.01 on animal licensing. This was rescheduled from last week, and you'll have all the consent agenda items you discussed today. If you have any questions on any item, please let me know prior to Thursday, and staff and I are happy to answer it for you. Final item for issues is Commissioner Communications.
Thank you, Gary. I'm going to go with Commissioner Schrader first.
Yeah, I just wanted to let folks know I had a very good meeting yesterday with Oregon Tech and all of their top folks, CEOs, CFOs, the president of Oregon Tech, and Mayor Julie Fitzgerald from Wilsonville joined me with that meeting.
Nice.
And it was phenomenal what they're doing there, because they actually have the largest return on investment of any university in our university system in terms of getting folks trained, getting them jobs. They do everything from cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, new innovations in plastics. You name it, technically, they are on the cutting edge of educating our workforce. They work very closely with Clackamas Community College as well, that also has a site there on the Harmony campus. And one of the most interesting things is that they are looking at trying to get what they call an incubation hub, where they're taking folks from around the United States from various university systems and providing spaces for them to live for short periods of time and do special programs and special teaching opportunities for Oregon Tech. They are doing a phenomenal job. They work very closely with the traded sector businesses we have in this county. They are members of OMEC, which is the Oregon, I believe, Manufacturing Innovation Consortium, and that is located in Scappoose. And I had the opportunity to visit the Sheffield model in England that basically is the prototype for OMIC in Scappoose. And that is where our larger industries, Boeing, all of the manufacturing folks, there's a whole list of them, they co-locate at the site, and they actually train folks to move into their workforce system with technical education. It's a huge big deal here. It was pioneered by Betsy Johnson, who knew the guru in England that had started this in Sheffield, which totally revitalized their community. So colleagues, I think my next visit is going to be to Scappoose to see OMIC, and I'd love to invite all of you to come if you have an opportunity to do it and visit and take a look at that model that we actually pulled together here and brought it. I wish we could have done it in Clackamas County directly, but I think the Wilsonville campus is actually framing that model for us here in this county. So that was a really good visit, and I'm just continuing to talk to our local chambers about business recovery centers throughout the county. That was what we did during COVID when businesses were having severe issues because of all of us being constrained and where we could go. And basically what we provided, and Laura Edmonds can talk to this even more fluently than I can, what we provided was bridge dollars to make sure that those smaller to medium-sized businesses had an opportunity to be stable during the crisis and then ultimately remain open. So that's my news for today. So thank you.
Great. Commissioner Schull.
Yes, thank you. As you all know, we are working on the Sunrise Corridor planning between 122nd and 172nd, and the next open house for the Sunrise Corridor meeting will be on the 10th of April at the Adrian C. Nelson High School Commons at 14897 Southeast Parkland Drive in Happy Valley. The meeting will start at 5:30 and conclude at 7:30. As you know, we're working with ODOT, Metro, Happy Valley, Jacobs Engineering, and people from unincorporated Clackamas County to develop a shared vision of the future of the Sunrise Corridor. And everyone is encouraged to attend. Last week, I met with a gentleman by the name of Mike Hammonds, which many of our planning people already are familiar with. And he is going to be at that meeting on 10 April to present a concept for a 130-acre development in the Damascus area. And it's not every day we get a motivated developer with a plan who is eager to build free market housing. And of course, a big project that is multi-type housing and commercial comes with a lot of planning requirements, sewer issues. So I recommend that everyone who is interested in the Sunrise Corridor who can attend the meeting in Happy Valley on 10 April, please attend and listen to the presentation that will compose part of the meeting by Mr. Mike Hammonds for his very dynamic idea for a housing development in the Damascus area. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, appreciate that. Just one small point to make, Commissioner Schull. I didn't anticipate that, but just let you know that the project area of the Sunrise Visioning Project is not in the area of Mr. Hammond's project.
I understand
Mr. Hammond's
that.
project is actually east of that.
We understand that, but his idea will have an impact on the future and is worth listening to.
Yeah, of course. All right, so, let's clear my throat. Last week, as you know, there was a lot of discussion and media around the governor's recommendation to cancel the regional mobility pricing tolling project, which is one of 3 different tolling projects that are on the books right now. The main one, of course, is the I-2051, which is not officially canceled, and based on the press release by the governor Wednesday or Thursday of last week, I think she emanated that that might be settled or come back potentially sometime next year. So no need for us to be complacent, but to press on. Unfortunately, because of all the confusion and because it's not clear how Oregonians or their elected officials make decisions on transportation projects, it's clear as mud, unfortunately. We have the state legislature. We have the subcommittee on transportation of the state legislature. We have the co-chairs of that particular committee. We have the special subcommittee. We have the Oregon Transportation Commission. We got the metro regional government. We got the local jurisdictions. We got the governor. And clearly a lot, and we have the state legislature that passes laws or bills like HB 2017 and HB 3055, which clearly become law, right? So they speak for themselves. They stand on their own. So all these individual either decision makers or decisions as they sit give direction, right? And naturally that can be very confusing. Naturally, the public gets, has some kind of a sense that, a person or a particular government makes a decision or not. It gets not very clear. It gets very confusing. But recently, one of our state legislators, I won't name who, put out their public newsletter. And in that newsletter, and we've been hearing this along for almost a year now, but now it's in writing. And it goes back to a concern I expressed with my board about the position the board took in June of 2021 on HB 3055. And there is the concern I was trying to pass on was that that board decision gave some assurances for tolling of the I-205 corridor. And now that that position was reversed, and now that the governor's doubled down on that, there's a little bit upset. And so we've been hearing here for the last year or so, rumblings of, is that the county and cities live on what's called the 50-30-20 split. So for every dollar of gas tax, approximately 50 cents goes to the state, 30 cents goes to the counties, and 20 cents goes to the cities. Our portion of that statewide gas tax is somewhere in the 25-ish plus or minus $5 million amount annually. That's our annual. That's what paves our roads. That's what does help some of our projects, does our safety things, stop signs, all the things, snow removal, all of that in Clackamas County. Well, I just lost my... So I'm going to read you a sentence out of that newsletter about the 50%. And again, I'm not going to say who, but we need to keep our eye on this. One sentence out of the paragraph. We work with our local partners, cities and counties, on their local roads as well by supporting them with their local projects. If the state does not have solid funding, we can't share the 50% that we have in the past. Now imagine taking that money from all of the counties and the cities, so they have no money and no resources to pave the roads, plow the roads, patch potholes, do all those safety projects. That's the concern. So again, going full circle, and what I have heard is that, there's this confusion, some of it justified, some of it not really clear, that people that were very supportive of tolling counted on local government support for certain House bills, not unlike what we did and what we put in the position with the Measure 110 reforms, right? Very similar. They want the support. So when HB 3055 came around, that support was given as well for that tolling and the bonding on I-205. So all the states want to alert you to the fact that we've got to be on top of this, and those discussions are going to be happening. And I think, again, some people that wanted to see tolling are very upset, and some of us who don't want tolling for the reasons in which I think all five of us support, being against the 205 project, make that perfectly clear. For the reasons that we talk about, safety and diversion and all of that. That's our concern. And it's very complex, but all to say is that I expect to hear a lot of statements and possibly some positions leading up to the 2025 session that we need to get in front of and be very clear on. And I think there's an expectation that coming next year, we're going to have to, again, come together and agree on how we fill those gaps. And I think the threat is that concern. I won't call it a threat. I'll just say what it is. It's threatening to think that maybe we would lose all of our transportation funding.
Finished?
I'm finished.
All right, thank you. I talked to the governor last week about this very issue. I will say that now that the governor has made this decision, you can analyze it for what the decision is. Clackamas County has been steadfast. First, we initiated action so the governor would take a pause on tolling. Now she has decided no on tolling until something else comes down the road. She is looking at different funding sources. I opined on what this board had talked about in the past, and I have reiterated to her again and again and again how onerous this particular tolling message was. I think we're going to have a lot of political threats made against us, and frankly, I am not going to bow to political threats that we're going to take away the money. I don't think that's going to even stand for a vote. I just don't think that's going to happen. What I do think could possibly happen is that this legislature is going to be fully focused on transportation and what that looks like. I also hope they just don't look at increasing fees, taxes, or whatever. I would hope that they would look at auditing the Department of Transportation. When I was in the legislature, it was the word basically in legislative bodies and committees. It cost ODOT 85 cents on the dollar to turn on the lights. Do you know what that means? That means it costs them 85 cents a dollar to hire the employees to come and to show up for work and to do this and to do this. And none of that money went on the ground to pave the projects. I suspect it's the same because that department has grown and grown and grown. And what have they done? Are they paving our state highways? Are they filling potholes? We all drive across the state. We see the answer to that. When I was in the legislature, I was on Ways and Means, and we went on a tour of some of the bridges around, and ODOT engineers took us out and said, Representative Smith, this bridge needs fixed, and this is how we do inspections. So we put on our boots, we tramped through the mud and the dirt and the gravel, and they say, okay, here's a credit card. If you can insert a credit card in the cracks in the bridge, that's how they determined if the bridge either needed to be replaced or somehow retrofitted and fixed. And those bridges that we toured are still there today, and I imagine you can insert many credit cards in that crack. So yes, there is an awareness out there. Funding is an issue, but also I think that the Oregon legislature needs to take a more active role in overseeing their management of their budgets, because they don't. Why? Because ODOT receives dedicated funding in the form of taxes and fees that goes directly to the department. It does not go through the normal Ways and Means process. So until that conundrum is fixed, we will always be in this situation. Last night, the Tri-County Tri-Chairs had a meeting. And the main purpose was that meeting to prepare for the meeting tonight. The governor has requested a meeting with the Tri-Chairs to discuss our housing. Well, what are your numbers? Well, what are you doing? Are you doing good enough? Are you doing this and this? Because you know the legislature passed a housing package. I'm not sure exactly how the conversation is going to go, but we are prepared to tell the governor we are doing as much as we can with the exorbitant amount of money that we have, and adding anything more on us will pressure the situation. You know, I keep saying, fine, governor, pass what you want. We need places to put people in housing. We need land to build. And if it's supported housing or anything that requires services, we need people. We need social workers. We need therapists. And frankly, the education requirements to become a therapist is a master's degree and 2,000 hours. And the governor and I had a very frank conversation about that. And she says, yes, we are looking at that through the licensing board. She says it doesn't make any more sense to her than it does to the rest of us. And then, to follow that up, tomorrow, we have a meeting on the Regional Housing Stakeholders Advisory Table. That is yet a third layer of meetings that are being conducted in Portland with I don't know how many people, 50 people have been invited to this roundtable from all industries, government entities. And the main purpose of that is to extend the current tax, the SH tax on high-income earners of $125,000 a year, which is considered high income, which is not, to extend that to make it permanent. And so we have our work cut out for us on this. And I keep making the stance, and the other two the chairs are in agreement. We have not earned the right yet to ask more out of the taxpayers until we can start alleviating the homeless situation in all the counties. We're doing fairly well in Clackamas County, but I always maintain that can change at any time if the other counties aren't able to also do that, and we need places, we need services, and we need, frankly, the ability to do it, because you can throw all the money in the world at this problem, and it's not going to be fixed until we identify the causation of homelessness. In addition to that, you might want to know, Metro has decided to hire at least 40 new housing specialists. Why does Metro need housing specialists? They don't deliver housing. They have that 10% reserves coming in off of this. They have a lot of money. And they are hiring people from across the region to do what? I am not sure, but they did hire a Clackamas County employee who was very good working for us, has now gone over to Metro. So, are they competing with the counties? That's the question I asked. I don't have an answer for that. So I'm trying to keep the board updated as much as we can on that. I did have a private meeting with Metro President Lynn Peterson on this. I expressed to her my same concern about going out this November for an increase. I says, I do not think it will be well received by voters. Now, I look at the increase as extending the tax permanently, because what we ask the voters is, give us 10 years to show that we can reduce homelessness with this amount of money. Well, now they're thinking about indexing the taxing tables differently and doing this and doing this, so it looks like it's a tax reduction. But I can't imagine that by the time they get done indexing the very high earners and businesses, and maybe we don't tax people making $125,000, that it's really a reduction in taxes by the time we get done. So there are at least 3 leaders in the region who are pushing back and being a little bit of an opposition to this. Again, we have not earned the right to ask the people for more taxes when we still have 7 years left on this one. Tomorrow night, at the Aquatic Center, the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District will be having a meeting. We look forward to that. It's always a good time out there. Talk to the folks about the Parks District, about what we want to do, and take in their comments as well. Mr. Savas?
Yeah, I didn't know about that housing piece, so I have a comment, but I have a question first. So this is, they want to extend the supportive housing bond forever, or the construction sticks and bricks housing bond?
SHS funding.
So
Supporting housing services.
that's different than building anything?
Yes, although we can use that for sticks and bricks occasionally.
Okay.
So it's the service delivery system.
Okay, well, yeah, for all the reasons you stated and then some, I got concerns about making that. I think it needs a little bit of an overhaul,
Oh, I do too.
right? And to just cement that in without some tweaks. I'm not saying I'm against the continuance of that, but in its current form and status, I am concerned. I think it needs to be refined, and I don't think that a lot of that money should be absorbed by more government. It should go directly to services and the people that need it. And to hear that 40 employees, I'm just doing some rough math, that's got to be north of $5 million additional annually, easy.
They're taking more than
easily.
that in
Oh,
every
yeah.
year, Paul.
Yeah, oh, I know.
And you're right on that, about the redo. I hope we get an opportunity to debate this. The problem is, we go to these now, the new roundtable meetings for tax discussion, and it's always Metro, not unlike the transportation, it's always Metro making the presentations. And the questions and discussions revolve around Metro wanting to do this. And so the rest of us find ourselves in the room standing up and saying no. And it's horrifically difficult. And my whole theory behind this, at what point do we show the public a reduction in homelessness? And the last one I attended is, we need more housing, we need more money. And that was the main premise of the discussion. We need more housing, we need more money. I says, when do we, because that's what we asked the voters, that we would reduce homeless to get to functional zero on homeless. And that discussion isn't even in the mix. So one of these issues that I work on, and, commissioners, ask me, or Emily is very well versed in this. Emily Klepper is our policy advisor on it. That helps me. And if you ever have any more questions, just go to her. Okay, seeing no more further discussion with this board, we are adjourned.